have been at a retreat for the last like 4 days, and I'm heading out today, and I thought I would go to Bell Buckle, Tennessee. Take you along with me, of course. And I hear they have some really great antiquing there. I know that there's an antique store that has been featured in Southern Living magazine, and it's supposed to be a quaint little town. So let's get on the road and go see what we can find. Okay, so you guys know that I'm on the road quite a bit. My husband and I, or even a lot of times, I just travel by myself. And I love to go on road trips. It's one of my favorite things. So if you haven't already downloaded my Spotify playlists, be sure to do that. I'll have the link in the description below. Coming into Bell Buckle, Tennessee was a really pretty drive. Tennessee is just beautiful on its own. And as I came into the town of Bell Buckle, it was immediately apparent to me that this was just a really quaint small town. Southern Living magazine had done a feature on Bell Buckle, Tennessee in their magazine, and I couldn't wait to see what it was all about and experience it for myself. I wasn't sure exactly where to start, but I decided just to walk down to the end of this row of shops, and I went in the Southern Charm boutique or antique store. This was a sweet shop. There were so many pretty things, and I really enjoyed perusing all of the different vintage home decor items and antiques in this shop. Not everything was vintage. They did have some new items, but everything just worked so beautifully together, and it was definitely a fun store to shop in. Y'all know how much I love vintage quilts, and this particular one was embroidered and really sweet. If I had more money, I would collect more quilts. I really always have to look for a good deal, though. In the back of the shop, they had a little tea room that you could reserve, and I just thought this would be a very sweet location for like a bridal shower or just an intimate gathering with some friends, for like a ladies' luncheon, or even like a small women's ministry group of church ladies. This was just a really cute location. Next, I went over to Everybody's Antiques and More. This is one of those shops that I could have spent just all day in, looking through all of the vintage home decor items and other things that they had. I really especially loved this little toll painting on wood. It had birds and a flower pot. It was only $10, and I ended up bringing that home with me. You guys, I went to make my first purchase, and they only took cash. So I am going to the ATM to get some money out, and but that's good to know that if you come to Bell Buckle, you'll probably need cash. I don't always think about it, and sometimes I have cash on hand and sometimes I don't. So they do have an ATM here, and I'm going to get some cash out, but it would have been better if I had just brought the cash with me. So just so you know, that's the thing. Okay, and by the time I had finished shopping in Everybody's Antiques and More, and I had put my purchase into my car, it was about lunchtime, so I decided to head over to the Bell Buckle Cafe and eat some lunch. I ended up ordering a vegetable plate. I don't know why I ordered so many carbs. It was all delicious, but I don't usually eat such a carb-heavy meal, and it definitely made me tired afterward. But it was absolutely delicious. Just home cooking country food. The folks in the Bell Buckle Cafe were really attentive. My waiter was great, and I really enjoyed everything about this restaurant. After lunch, I went into Hilltop Antiques And y'all, this store was so good. I really enjoyed everything about this shop. This little wooden box that was painted, so pretty. It was $28, and I really enjoyed everything about this shop. So many pretty things to look at. I actually have a collection of vintage mason jars, and I really loved this vintage ironing board. So many things, like this little fan down here on the bottom shelf. I actually have one almost just like it. When you went back in, there was a little room that had an old vault in it. So I guess maybe this antique store used to be a bank, but that was really cool. You could open it up and peek inside and see all the money they had in there. So much fun, just kind of a fun historical element to the shop. And next I went to Phillips General Store. If you notice, that bench said husband drop-off location, which I thought was super cute. Just a really fun detail. And Phillips General Store was like a museum. I mean, we're talking, this place was packed with beautiful and even rare antiques. I had no idea when I walked in the door what I was going to find, of course, but there was so much to look at in this store, and I could have literally spent hours just studying all of the different antiques and vintage pieces inside this shop. I just could not believe how much was in this little shop. There were beautiful collections displayed, and then even behind the displays there were shelves that held all kinds of vintage and antique goods that were actually kind of hard to get to. I looked at the shelves and found a few things that I thought would be really interesting to look up close, but you really couldn't reach them. So, I mean, there was just so much in this store to look at. I loved this Girl Scout cap and the Girl Scout cookie tin. I wish I'd had it in my budget to bring those home with me. I was very tempted, but with this Girl Scout cookie tin being priced at $65, it just was not in my budget. But it was so cute, and I could just imagine bringing it home and putting it in my family room or using it in my camper. You guys know I love a good antique store, and this particular shop was definitely full of wonderful antiques. A lot of it was out of my budget, which is okay. I still enjoy looking. I tend to look for less expensive things. This shop also had a lot of rare and even first edition books. A lot of children's books that were possibly from first editions or just really old books, and they were priced accordingly. But it was fascinating to me because I love children's books in particular, and looking at all of the various rare and old editions of these books was just really, really interesting. And what a fun collection that would be. If you are into collecting antique books, Phillips General Store definitely had a wide selection of rare and antique books. And you can see here that there were these shelves, like I was talking about a minute ago, that were just full of all kinds of vintage antiques. And you couldn't really, there were things in front of the shelves, so I had to stretch to even pick up that little glass jar. So you couldn't really get to a lot of the things in there, but if you took your time, you could look. And I'm sure that if you really wanted to see something, the shop owner would be willing to pull it out for you. These vintage cameras were really neat to look at. He had several vintage cameras. I have a daughter who's a photographer, so I'm always looking at vintage cameras when I see them. I could bring this stuff home. My whole house would look like an antique store if I wasn't careful. One of the things I love most about antiques is how they bring back so many nostalgic memories. And it's funny how you could go years without thinking about something, but when you see an item that reminds you of that thing, it'll bring back just a flood of memories. And antiques really do that for me. I'll see things that just remind me of my childhood. They might remind me of someone I love, and it'll even spark an old memory. And I just think that's really special. So, kind of unrelated to antiques is the idea of writing postcards. For the last few years, when I travel out of state or go on vacation, I try really hard to send out a lot of postcards to family and friends. And I just think it's a lot of fun. I don't receive postcards very often, and I think maybe that it's kind of a nostalgic thing that folks don't do as much anymore like they used to. But a number of years ago, I realized that sending postcards in the mail was just a really fun way to connect with your family. And then it also provides like a keepsake. I've even mailed postcards to myself. We went to Houston, Texas about 3 years ago and visited NASA. And I wrote a postcard to myself from NASA because that was such a fun trip and it was very inspiring to me. And so I just wrote a little note on the back of that postcard and mailed it to myself. And postcards is just a really fun thing to collect in general. And I even have vintage postcards displayed in my house in a couple of different places. And they're just a lot of fun. So if you don't write notes very often, try sending a postcard the next time you visit a new location or go on vacation. I loved the vintage housewares in this section of the store. I thought they were so pretty. I didn't really have a need for most of this stuff, but even look at these beautiful books. I have a lot of vintage and antique books. My husband brought me one that he found that belonged to his grandmother or great-grandmother, I think, and it was written like over 200 years ago and published, it was like a very, very antique book. And we have a lot of really, really old books. It's an interesting thing to collect. This duck was really cute, and I loved this red coat that he was wearing. Just a really fun thing to look at. Okay, so when you're decorating your house, do you decorate with antiques primarily, or I would love to hear in the comments below, if you have vignettes and displays of antiques, or if you just have collections, that you keep in a certain place in your house or even in boxes. I don't like to collect things unless I'm going to display them. But thinking about it, the more I think about collections, I've realized lately that I have a lot of small collections. There's things that I collect from time to time, and over the years, I have collected quite a few of those things, and I have way more collections than I realized. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to collect things that you love and put them all together in a display. I love horse books. I love horses. We've had horses for about 15 years. We're down to just one. More children's books. This was so sweet. I loved this little Red Riding Hood book. Oh my goodness, and this swim academy from Burbank, California. That was $10. I wish I could have brought that home with me. I think that would be really fun in my family room. But $10 was just too much. I don't know if it was just Southern churches that would have a black and white sketch done of their church, but when I was growing up, it was very common for churches to have someone do a drawing of their church building, and then you would see those sketches on, like church bulletins and other things. I just think it's a really neat part of history, and I don't know if churches still do that today. Does your church have a black and white sketch of the church building? I would love to know. You can share that with me in the comments below. Do you have a lot of black and white photos from your ancestors or your history from your family? We do, and I just find them so interesting to look back at. And you guys, look at this Christmas tree with the metal tree skirt. Oh my goodness, that was absolutely stunning. The price was shocking, but yeah, definitely I loved that tree skirt. I was talking the other day about collecting at least one vintage baseball. I didn't take one of these home. I didn't see a price. And a lot of times, if something doesn't have the price on it, I typically won't ask unless it's something I know I definitely want to take home with me. So I didn't get one of these baseballs, but yeah, I thought about it. As I was shopping here in Phillips General Store, I overheard the shopkeeper talking to another lady, and he was saying that his mother, who was 95 years old, made 120 fried pies every morning for this Bluebird Antiques and Ice Cream Parlor. And so I had to go check it out for myself. I was so excited to try those fried pies and incredibly disappointed when I realized that I arrived too late to get one of those fried pies. I wanted to eat lunch first, and I was kicking myself because I probably should have gone over there right away to get one of those fried pies, because I assume that they must be legendary if she's making 120, and by 2:00 in the afternoon they were completely sold out. So this was another really great antique shop. Absolutely loved the displays, and they had so many pretty things to look at. Okay, these bluebird dishes, there is nothing sweeter than a little bluebird in my opinion. And I'm always excited when I see an Eastern bluebird in my yard. I don't get to see them very often, but these dishes, oh my goodness, just absolutely precious. I loved these bluebirds, and if I'd had it in my budget, that would have come home with me. It was really expensive, well worth the cost, I'm sure, but oh my goodness, I really liked those bluebirds. Okay, and I didn't get fried pies, but I did get ice cream. I opted for the cookie dough ice cream. It was absolutely delicious. I got a single scoop, and it was such a hot afternoon. I can tell you that ice cream really hit the spot. I enjoyed every bite of that ice cream, and it was a great way to kind of spend some time in the middle of the afternoon just cooling off and refreshing myself with ice cream on a waffle cone. Next, I went in this coffee shop and book swap little store. It It was really cute. If you saw the moon pie display on the front door, I actually saw moon pies and moon pie displays all over town. And apparently Bell Buckle, Tennessee is known for moon pies and RC Cola. And if you're from the South, you know that RC Cola and moon pies were a favorite snack in days gone by, and we still like moon pies and RC Cola to this day. Bell Buckle, Tennessee also has a number of annual festivals in town and a lot of different just events that you can attend. So if you want to plan a trip to Bell Buckle, Tennessee, I would say it'd be definitely worth the effort to kind of research what events they have going on at different times of the year so that you can plan your trip around some sort of fun festival, enjoy the antiques, get some ice cream and fried pies, and even enjoy some RC Cola and moon pies.
And somebody comes up on you and you're on a tripod. So embarrassing. Just to let you know.
And you guys, look at this bee pollinator flower garden. Absolutely fun and whimsical. I love what they did with this. So cute.
Okay guys, it's been a full day here in Bell Buckle, and just to let you know, most of the shops close up at 4 o'clock. So it is just after 4 now, and I am getting ready to head home. Couldn't help myself. I had to pull over at the Scenic overlook. I've never been to this one. I think I'm close to Sparta, Tennessee, wherever that's at. I'm somewhere between McMinnville and Knoxville. So I'm in Sparta, or the Sparta area, and it's pretty. So lots of graffiti here though. I hate it when people do that. But the overlook is pretty. So it's getting late. I probably won't be home until midnight. But yeah, it's been a good day.
So that's basically all for today's video. Please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know if you enjoyed this video or if you'd like for me to make similar videos in the future. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Y'all have a great day. Bye.